June 19, 1944. High above the vast, sun-dappled expanse of the Philippine Sea, Lieutenant Commander David McCampbell throttles his Grumman F-6F Hellcat into a steep climb. The engine roars like a caged beast, vibrations rattling through the cockpit, salt spray still clinging to the canopy from the carrier launch minutes ago. You can almost taste the metallic tang of aviation fuel in the humid Pacific air, feel the G-forces pressing you back into the leather seat as the fighter squadron vectors toward the incoming threat. Radar pips flicker on the scopes below, hundreds of them, a swarm descending from the northwest. McCampbell, skipper of Air Group 15 aboard USS Essex, scans the horizon through his gun sight. His voice crackles over the radio, calm but edged. "Tally-ho, bandits at 12 o'clock high. Form up, boys. Stay sharp." The Hellcat's wings slice through thin clouds, the blue ocean below dotted with the gray silhouettes of Task Force 58. Carriers like Lexington, Yorktown, and Enterprise, their decks alive with scrambling fighters. Anti-aircraft guns swivel skyward, but this fight belongs to the pilots. Down on the bridge of USS Lexington, Vice Admiral Mark Mitcher paces, cigar clenched in his teeth, eyes glued to the plotting board. "Ozawa's throwing everything at us," he mutters to his staff. Japanese Admiral Jisaburo Ozawa's combined fleet has launched the first wave. Over 60 A6M Zeros, D4Y Judys, and B6N Jills from carriers Zuikaku, Shokaku, and Taiho. They're coming in hot, desperate to smash the American invasion of Saipan in the Marianas. The islands are key, within B-29 bomber range of Tokyo. Lose them, and Japan faces fire from the skies. The air thickens with tension. Pilots like Lieutenant J.G. Alex Veracciu in his Hellcat from Intrepid adjust their oxygen masks, thumbs hovering over the firing studs for 6.5 caliber machine guns. The F-6F is a monster, rugged, fast, outclimbing the Zero by a mile. But numbers matter. Ozawa's pilots, many green recruits rushed from training schools, press on with kamikaze-like fervor. Their planes glint in the morning sun, a silver horde against the azure sky. First contact. A Zero dives, guns blazing. McCampbell banks hard, tracers whipping past his wing. He rolls inverted, pulls the stick, and unleashes a burst, short, precise. The enemy fighter erupts in flames, spiraling down in a black smoke trail. "Splash one," he calls. Around him, the sky explodes into chaos. Hellcats swarm like wolves on sheep, outmaneuvering, outgunning. Veracciu claims two in quick succession, his cockpit filled with the acrid smell of cordite. You hear it, the staccato bark of Brownings, the whine of engines pushed to redline. Bodies tense in cockpits, sweat soaks flight suits. One American pilot, Ensign Wilbur Spider Webb from Bunker Hill, watches a Judy bomber disintegrate under his fire, debris raining into the sea. But the Japanese keep coming, wave after wave. Ozawa's plan? 4 massive raids to overwhelm the Yanks, using superior range to strike from afar while his carriers stay hidden. Mitcher counters brilliantly. "Launch everything," he orders. Over 450 Hellcats rise to meet them, directed by radar pickets and fighter direction officers like Commander Ernest Snowden aboard Lexington. Vector 270, Angels 15, bogies closing fast. The CAP, Combat Air Patrol, forms a steel wall 150 miles out from the fleet. By noon, the first wave crumbles. Japanese planes plummet, 69 shot down against just a handful of American losses. Pilots land back on carriers, canopies sliding open to cheers from the deck crews. But Mitcher knows it's not over. Scouts report more contacts building on the horizon. Ozawa's second wave, over 100 planes, launches, pilots like Petty Officer Saburo Sakai pushing their Zeros to the limit, fuel tanks light for the one-way trip. The sea below boils with wreckage, oil slicks spreading like dark omens.
McCampbell refuels hastily, his hands steady despite the adrenaline. How many more waves? Can the Hellcats hold the line? The slaughter has only begun.
Early afternoon, June 19th, 1944. The Philippine Sea burns under a merciless sun. Lieutenant Alex Rachiu circles at 20,000 feet, his Hellcats Pratt and Whitney radial growling steady, fuel gauge already dipping lower than he'd like. Below, the first wave's wreckage still smokes on the water, black plumes rising like funeral pyres. He wipes sweat from his brow, the cockpit a greenhouse despite the altitude. Essex fighters, this is Fighter Director. New bogies inbound, bearing 280 Angels 12. Vector to intercept. Hustle. Vrachiu banks west, leading his division from USS Intrepid. Radar shows another 100-plus bandits, Ozawa's second raid, launched from the remaining Japanese carriers. Many are piloted by boys barely out of flight school, some with fewer than 50 hours in a zero. They fly in ragged formations, radios crackling with frantic Japanese as they search for the American fleet. David McCampbell, refueled and rearmed on Essex, launches again with Air Group 15. "Stay together, watch your six," he reminds his pilots over the radio. The Hellcats climb into position, blue camouflage blending with the sky. Then the spotters call it. "Tally-ho, large formation, 12 o'clock low." The sky ignites once more. Zeros dive to meet them, sun at their backs in classic fashion, but the Hellcats are ready. Vrachiu picks a leader, closes to 300 yards and fires a long burst. The Zero's wing folds, it flips and tumbles, pilot bailing out too late. One. He rolls, spots another pair trying to bounce his wingman. Throttle firewall, he closes fast, too fast. The Japanese pilots scatter, inexperienced eyes wide behind goggles. Vrachiu nails a second, then a third in a single high-side pass. "That's 3 more, he reports coolly, but his heart hammers. Across the battle space, the carnage multiplies. Commander Charles Brewer from USS Hornet leads his division into a gaggle of Judies. His Hellcats tear through like scythes, bombers exploding mid-air, wings shearing off under .5 caliber fire. One Judy pilot, realizing escape is impossible, turns straight into Brewer's guns, disintegrating in a fireball rather than face capture. You feel the chaos, the sharp stink of glycol from overheating engines, the shudder of recoil through the control stick, the momentary flash of a cockpit canopy as an enemy pilot meets his end. American pilots shout splash over the radio like hunters calling kills. Japanese transmissions turn to screams and static. Ozawa, 200 miles away aboard Tai-Ho, receives fragmented reports. His staff pale as losses mount. Over 100 planes already gone, with barely a scratch on the American carriers. He orders the third wave launched immediately, another 47 aircraft, hoping sheer volume will saturate the defenses. But the Hellcats are relentless. Fuel state critical. Pilots push limits, landing on any flat top with space. Yorktown, Enterprise, even light carriers like Princeton. On Lexington's bridge, Mitcher watches the plot. "They're coming in piecemeal," he says, voice gravelly. "Our boys are eating them alive." But he knows the real prize is Ozawa's fleet. Scout planes from Enterprise report contacts, Japanese carriers spotted. The decision looms: hold fighters for defense or strike back. By late afternoon, the second wave shatters. Another 65 Japanese planes down. American losses, fewer than 10. Pilots trap aboard, legs shaking as they climb from cockpits. Deck crews slap backs, hand out coffee. Vrachiu steps down with 6 kills for the day already, soon to be 7, earning him the Navy Cross. But the radio crackles again. Multiple bogies launching, third raid inbound, smaller but desperate, and then a fourth, cobbled together from scraps. The sun dips toward the horizon, exhaustion creeps in, but the Hellcats launch once more. How much more can the Japanese throw away, and when will Mitcher unleash the counterstrike? Late afternoon, June 19, 1944. The Philippine Sea is a graveyard of burning wrecks and parachutes drifting like jellyfish into the waves. Commander David McCampbell traps aboard USS Essex for the third time that day, his Hellcats engine coughing as he cuts throttle over the deck. Flight deck crews swarm, refueling, rearming, 6 guns loaded with fresh belts of 50 cal, oxygen bottles topped off. His face is blackened with gun smoke, eyes bloodshot, but he waves off the corpsman. "I'm good. Launch me again." Radar rooms aboard the carriers hum with tension. Fighter director officers track the 3rd and 4th Japanese raids, smaller now, barely 90 planes combined, scraped together from Ozawa's dwindling air groups. Many pilots have never seen combat. Some have never landed on a carrier. They fly eastward anyway, radios filled with commands to press the attack at all costs. High overhead, Lieutenant J.G. Alex Rachu spots the next wave first. Bogies at Angels 10, coming in loose. Looks like another turkey shoot, boys. His voice carries a grim edge. No joy, just fact. The Hellcats dive from altitude, sun behind them now, turning the tables. Zeros scatter like startled birds. One young Japanese pilot, Ensign Kananyoshi Muto, in a battered A6M5, tries a desperate loop to gain height. Rachu anticipates, pulls lead, and fires. The Zero bursts apart mid-maneuver, canopy and pilot vanishing in the explosion. You can picture it, the sharp crack of wings ripping, the orange bloom of fuel igniting, the silent fall into the endless blue. Below, American destroyers steam through the debris field, machine guns chattering at low-flying stragglers. A few Japanese planes break through the fighter screen. 7 in total reach the fleet. Anti-aircraft fire erupts in a thunderous curtain, 5-inch, 40mm, 20mm tracers arcing like fiery rain. 2 Judies drop bombs wide, splashing harmlessly. One Val dive bomber scores a near miss on USS South Dakota, but the battleship shrugs it off. All 7 attackers are shredded before they can escape. On the Japanese side, despair sets in. Ozawa receives report after report of failure. Over 200 planes lost already, pilots irreplaceable. His carriers, Zuikaku, Taiho, Shokaku, reel from the disaster. Then fate twists the knife. American submarine USS Albacore torpedoes Taiho, Ozawa's flagship. A damaged aviation fuel system ignites hours later, turning the great carrier into an inferno. Ozawa transfers his flag, but the blow is mortal. Minutes afterward, USS Kavala puts 4 torpedoes into Shokaku. She too erupts and sinks. Mitzer smells blood. "Prepare the strike," he orders. As the sun lowers, he launches everything he has, over 200 Helldivers, Avengers, and escorting Hellcats, towards the reported position of Ozawa's fleet. McCampbell leads part of the escort, his 4th sortie of the day. Fuel is critical. The strike will be at extreme range, pilots facing a night recovery if they survive. But first, the last Japanese stragglers. A lone Zero staggers towards Enterprise, pilot determined to ram. Hellcats swarm it, guns hammering until it flips into the sea. The 4th wave, barely 50 planes, never reaches the fleet. Most are shot down 60 miles out. Total Japanese losses for the day climb past 300. American pilots claim 244 confirmed kills in the air alone, with flak claiming more. Deck logs record the lopsided tally, the greatest single-day aerial victory in naval history. Pilots like McCampbell end the day with multiple kills. Rachu bags 6 in one mission, a record. They call it the Mariana's Turkey Shoot, a grim nickname born from the helplessness of the Japanese aviators. As twilight deepens, Mitzer's strike force races west. Will they find Ozawa's crippled fleet before darkness falls? And can the exhausted American pilots make it back in the black of night?
Twilight, June 19, 1944. The Philippine Sea turns blood orange as the sun sinks toward the horizon. Over 200 American aircraft, SB-2C Helldivers, TBF Avengers, and escorting F-6F Hellcats thunder westward at wave-top height, skimming the swells to avoid radar detection. Commander David McCampbell flies wing on the strike leader, his fifth sortie of the day, fuel tanks near empty, ammunition low. The cockpit smells of sweat and hot oil. His eyes burn from hours staring into glare. Time to range, 30 minutes, the navigator calls. Mitcher's gamble is bold. Launch at extreme distance, over 300 miles round trip. Pilots know the math. If they don't find Ozawa's fleet quickly, many won't have fuel for the return. Night recovery on pitching decks awaits the lucky ones. McCampbell scans the darkening sea. Stay low, conserve fuel. We'll climb when we spot them. Below, white caps blur into shadow. Radio silence holds, broken only by occasional course corrections from the scout bombers ahead. Then, contact. Smoke on the horizon, carriers dead ahead. The Japanese mobile fleet materializes. Zuikaku, the last of the Pearl Harbor veterans, flanked by light carriers Chiyoda and Chitose, screened by battleships and cruisers. Ozawa's remaining air groups scramble frantically, but only a handful of Zeros rise to meet the onslaught. The Americans pounce. Helldivers roll in from 12,000 feet, dive brakes extended, bombs whistling down. Avengers loose torpedoes in textbook anvil attacks. McCampbell's Hellcats strafe decks, suppressing flak, guns spitting fire into rising Zeros. One Japanese fighter climbs toward him. McCampbell meets it head-on, a short deflection shot shredding the cockpit. The Zero spins away, trailing flame. You hear the roar, bombs detonating on flight decks, secondary explosions ripping through hangars packed with fueled aircraft. Zuikaku takes multiple hits, fires raging fore and aft. Light carrier Hyo absorbs torpedoes amidships, listing heavily as damage control parties fight in vain. Chiyoda's deck erupts in a chain of blasts, aviation gas igniting like napalm. Ozawa, now aboard Zuikaku, watches his fleet disintegrate. Abandon ship preparations, he orders quietly. But the admiral refuses to leave, determined to go down with his command if necessary. American pilots press the attack ruthlessly. Torpedo hits buckle Hyo's keel. She rolls and sinks stern first, taking hundreds with her. Ryuho and Yunyo burn fiercely, flight operations impossible. Japanese anti-aircraft fire claims a dozen attackers, but the cost is staggering. 3 carriers crippled or sunk in minutes. As the strike withdraws, pilots tally the damage. Hyo gone, Zuikaku and Chiyoda heavily damaged, over 50 more Japanese planes destroyed on decks or in the air. The once proud mobile fleet limps northwest, a shadow of its morning strength. But victory comes at a price. Fuel warnings blink red in cockpits. Darkness swallows the sea. McCampbell turns east, calculating, 180 miles back to the Force Task Force, night falling fast. Conserve every drop, climb to best glide altitude. Behind him, the horizon glows with burning carriers. Radio chatter turns anxious. Anybody got a steer to the Force? Navigation lights off to avoid detection. Pilots fly by dead reckoning and stars. Some ditch early, rafts inflating in black water. Others press on, engines sputtering. Then, a miracle. Mitcher's voice breaks silence. Turn on the lights. Against all doctrine, he orders every carrier illuminated. Deck lights, searchlights pointing skyward, star shells bursting overhead. A beacon in the void. Can the exhausted aviators find the glowing specks in time? Or will the night claim more lives than the enemy?
Full darkness, June 19, 1944. The Philippine Sea is a black void broken only by the distant glow of burning Japanese carriers and the sudden defiant blaze of American task force lights. Searchlights stab upward from USS Lexington, Enterprise, and a dozen other flat tops, turning the low clouds into a luminous ceiling. Star shells burst overhead like artificial moons. Mark Mitcher has broken every rule in the book, illuminating the fleet to guide his boys home. In the cockpits, exhausted pilots see the miracle and feel something between relief and disbelief. Commander David McCampbell, fuel gauge on fumes, spots the lights first. There's homeboys, dead ahead. His voice is hoarse, but steady. He lines up on Lexington's glowing deck, flaps down, hook extended. The landing signal officer's paddles wave frantically in the floodlights. Cut engine, a little left, hold it. McCampbell traps hard, cables snatching the Hellcat to a stop. He slumps forward, forehead against the gun sight as deck crews rush the wings. Not everyone is so lucky. One by one, aircraft appear out of the night, some engines coughing, some gliding dead stick. A Helldiver from Yorktown misjudges, bounces over the barriers and plows into parked planes in a fireball. Avengers ditch alongside destroyers, crews scrambling into rafts as picket ships maneuver to rescue them. Hellcats run out of fuel miles short, pilots punching out into the warm, shark-infested water. You can almost hear the splash, the frantic shouts, the hiss of sinking fuselages. Alex Vrasiu traps cleanly aboard Intrepid. 19 kills over 2 days now tallied to his name, the top American ace of the battle. He climbs down unsteadily, legs like rubber, greeted by cheering sailors. But his eyes search the sky for missing squadron mates. On Lexington's bridge, Mitcher watches silently, cigar long cold. 80 aircraft failed to return, many ditched, some lost forever. Rescue efforts continue through the night and into the next day. Submarines like USS Finback pluck pilots from the sea, destroyers lower nets. Over 50 airmen are saved, but 30 will never be found. June 20 dawns gray and quiet. Mitcher launches follow-up strikes against the retreating Japanese. Zuikaku takes more bombs and limps away, barely afloat. Additional light carriers are crippled. Ozawa's once mighty mobile fleet, 9 carriers at the battle's start, reduced to shadows. Total Japanese aircraft losses over 600, including those destroyed on decks. 3 fleet carriers sunk, 2 more fatally damaged. Naval air power in the Imperial Japanese Navy is effectively finished. American losses, 123 aircraft, mostly operational on the long return, and 109 irreplaceable pilots and crewmen. But Task Force 58 steams on, virtually untouched. The Marianas fall soon after, Saipan, Tinian, Guam, placing Japan's home islands within reach of B-29 superfortresses. The Great Marianas Turkey Shoot enters legend, the day experienced, battle-hardened American pilots flying superior aircraft, guided by unmatched radar and command, annihilated a desperate enemy. It marked the end of Japanese air carrier aviation as a strategic threat. David McCampbell will end the war with 34 kills, earning the Medal of Honor. Alex Vrasiu survives captivity after being shot down later. Mitcher, the quiet cigar-chomping admiral, receives credit for one of the most decisive naval victories in history. Yet in the quiet moments, veterans remembered not just the triumph, but the burning wrecks, the empty bunks, the young Japanese pilots who never had a chance. One day, one battle, the Pacific War's turning point in the sky.